Today I'm going to go over 7-3, just example 2 about rate of change. Maybe later I'll do a video for all of 7.3, but I'm just going to go over this example. So we went over a graph with the base of e, but rate of change is applicable to any curve, any function. The rate of change is actually the slope if it was linear. So you know the slope formula. Just so you know, I'm on page 374. Just so you know, the slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And it doesn't matter which point, because you have 2 points, y1 and x2, y2. And it doesn't matter which points you use first, as long as you line up this y goes with this x, this y goes with this x. So we have curves now, and we don't have a straight line that the slope is the same at every point, because this is rise, run, rise, run. So now we have curves. So what they do is give us two values of x to find the rate of change. So for example, if I was going from 1 to 3, I'd check this point to this point and do rise, which would be negative, and run. Okay, so it's just an average rate of change. That's why it's called average rate of change. It's not an exact slope. So what they give you are the x values. So let's call this one x1 and x2. It doesn't matter which one's which. You're used to given the whole value of the point, right? X and y, x and y. But now for rate of change, they'll only give you the x values. So this one we're looking at the rate of change from -4 to -1. And the reason -4 is first is because this is our function. We're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4 from here to here. So the slight difference from there to there. And so since they just gave us the x, we have to find the y value. So what you do is plug in these x's. Here's our function. I'm going to rewrite it down here so it's all on the same screen since I keep moving my book up and down. So it's -2 e to the x minus 3 plus 2. Make sure this plus 2 is outside the exponent. So it appears to be decreasing because the graph is decreasing overall. So it appears to be, should be close to 0, I think, but negative. Okay, so this g of -1, they put in -1 here. G of -4, they put in -4 and get these two values. So I'm going to rewrite it over here on the left to show you what this means. G of -1 is -2 e. Instead of x, you put -1 minus 3 plus 2. And g of -4 is -2 e. Instead of x, you put -4 minus 3 plus 2. And to get those values, remember on the calculator, you use these buttons on the left, e to the x. So I'm going to enter the first one, -2 e. Now I know -1 minus 3 is a -4, and then you have to hit right to get out of the exponent, plus 2. And we should get 1.963, which is what they got. And then you do the same thing. Oops, sorry about the glare. -2 e. I know -4 minus, oops, I didn't push e. -4 minus 3 is a -7. Get out of the exponent, plus 2, and we get 1.998. So then you subtract the numerators, and you get -0.035 divided by 3. Remember, when you subtract a negative, it becomes 4 minus 1, which is 3. And you get 0.012. Okay, so that's the first one. The next one, we're going from 0 to 3, It's easy to make this one the first one. So we're going to plug in 3 first, because 3 minus 0 is 3. You could do the other way also. I'm going to write over here, g of 3 is negative 2e to the 3 minus 3, that's where x is, plus 2. 3 minus 3 is 0. E to the 0 is 1. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2, so this is g of 3. 2 minus 2, so g of 3 is 0. That's how they got that. And g of 0 is negative 2e to the 0 minus 3 plus 2. And that must be negative 1.9. So negative 1.9. The first one was a negative. Sorry, I didn't put a negative on there. Negative divided by a positive. Negative 1.9 divided by 3 again is negative 0.63. So there's that one. So they're very small, but they are negative. Look how small this one is. It is close to 0. That negative 4 to 1, you could see it barely decreases. It starts to decrease. And then the other ones were 0 to 3, so that one was a bigger decrease. And then the next one is from 4 to 8, which should be a very steep decrease. So that's a little bigger, 4 to 8. So they already did it. So I'm just going to divide the last one. Remember, when you minus a negative, it's always subtracting, but if you have a negative value, that becomes a plus. So I get 291.389. Just entering these decimals isn't as accurate as doing this whole part in your calculator. So you could do the e value in parentheses minus the e value in parentheses, and then enter, and then divide by 4, and you're more accurate. So we get negative 72.85. So see how steep that is. That's such a high value for rate of change. Okay, here is the check. The check has 2 transformations. This reflects on the x. This moves it left 1. This moves it up 2. So instead of going like this, it's going to reflect. It's going to go down just like our example, but it's going to move left 1, up 2. So the domain is all numbers. Your range is less than 2 because it moved up. I'm just going to do probably B. So for B, we do negative 1 minus 1. This is the first one. This is the second one. So I'm going to put in negative 1, negative E, put in negative 1 for x, minus negative E, put in a positive 1 for x, and I'm going to show you how to enter it all together and get one number. So with my calculator, you could do vertical divide, which is control and divide, and it'll do the vertical division, but I'm going to show you how to do it without the vertical division. So we have our numerator. Let me put the calculator here. Okay, we're going to put a lot of stuff in parentheses. So parentheses, negative e. Well, I'm not even going to type that one in because I get e to the 0, which is 1. So I get negative 1 plus 2, which I know is 1. So back. So that's just 1. Get out of the parentheses, minus, I'm using the parentheses even though it's just 1 because you would put your whole e value in parentheses. Here's the negative e to the 2, go to the right, it got rid of my parentheses, didn't it? Plus 2. I'm going to add it back in. Or did I not click it? There it is. So that's the second one. I'm going to enter, and I'm going to divide that number by negative 2. So my final value is negative 3.19. Okay? It automatically changed the vertical division, but it's negative 3.19. All right. You do have to do a couple rate of change on your assignment. They're part C's on 14 and 15, I believe. Thanks. Let me know if you have questions when I see you. Bye.